Penn State fans, should you be worried about Carter Starocci's loss this weekend? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Big Ten Tuesday here on the Fanco Wrestling YouTube channel, where I take on a topic in the Big Ten every single week. Right now, we're unofficial with the Big Ten, but maybe one day we will be official. And this week, talking about Carter Starocci. Now, he had an unfortunate debut loss for the Nittany Lions this past weekend against Indiana at 174 pounds. Now, filling in for Mark Hall, since he has gone on and graduated, is Carter Starocci, the freshman. But with his loss this weekend, should you be worried? It has had Penn State fans wondering if they should actually be worried about 174 pounds, because Carter Starocci was supposed to be this big dog. He was ranked top 10, supposed to be a national title contender. Let's calm down for just a second, and I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't actually be that worried. So, first, before we get into this video, I want to tell you that it's brought to you by channel supporter Alfie Murillo. I like supporting the channel supporters and giving them shout-outs on this channel and on my videos because they continuously support this channel every single month. If you're interested in supporting the Fanco Wrestling channel, as well as receiving some awesome benefits like stickers and a shirt, depending on which level you support at, you can check that out right down in the description on my Patreon page. But let's get into the Carter Starocci, situation and what's happening. So Carter Starocci had his first college match against DJ Washington, in which he lost 10-9. DJ Washington, the redshirt freshman, was 22-9 last year. So no, he's not coming in as an All-American. He's not a top-ranked wrestler, although he may be now. We'll see kind of where the rankings put him after he beats a top 10 wrestler. It's kind of hard to say after, he did beat a top 10 wrestler, but that top 10 wrestler, Carter Starocci, is technically unproven in college. Although he did win the scuffle last year, he was undefeated, but listen, Washington actually placed in 7 tournaments last year. He was a high school state finalist in Indiana. But how did that match go for Starocci? So this is what happened with Starocci, and Washington was able to get the underhooks in and then end up being able to toss Starocci onto his back for 6, ends up getting another takedown after Starocci's escape and more back points. He was up 10-1 at the end of the first period. Now, Starocci, in the second on top, was able to get a tilt and another set of back points, and got closer, made the score a little bit closer, 10-8 by the end of the second, but just couldn't come back after getting the escape in the third. It was kind of unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the takedown, and obviously we see that Starocci, an area of improvement for him, is going to be, I guess, on his feet. Even with Washington's defense, he's just going to have to get on his feet, and I'll explain why this isn't a huge deal. One of the reasons why is he was tossed. He was tossed for 6, and it happens. Occasionally guys do get stuck off of crazy moves. Occasionally guys do get tossed for 6, and it happens. You don't want it to happen at the time in the big time on the Big Ten championships or in the NCAA finals. Looking at Aymar and Vincenzo right here, which I'll get to in just a little bit, but it happened, okay? And now he needs to learn from it, because he did learn from it, and he did come back in his second match where he won 4-1 against another redshirt freshman who was Troy Fisher. Now, he won against the guy against Northwestern after a scoreless first period, ends up getting the escape and a quick spin behind in the second to go up 3-0. And then the third, Fisher ended up getting the escape. The final score with riding time ended up being 4-1, and Starocci did end up getting the victory there. So his first official college victory at 174 pounds for the Nittany Lions. Although, like I said, he did wrestle last year. So now, the first thing I do have to say, other than the first match he got tossed, the second match he learned from his mistakes and he got back and he won. If he came back and he ended up losing again, then I'd be like, ooh, maybe this isn't the guy. But he may prove not to be the guy. But so far, off of one loss, I'm not that worried. And another reason I'm not that worried is because he is a Penn Stater, and Penn State has a history of solid wrestlers who don't make the best debuts. Mark Hall entered the duel in 2017 against Alex Meyer, the returning All-American, and lost. He lost in 2017 in the debut at Carver Hawkeye after Mark Hall was coming off of a Southern Scuffle win. This was a January debut. We lost 7-5 in Carver Hawkeye. Now, Penn State ended up winning the duel 26-11, but so they didn't technically even end up needing this win from Mark Hall. But Cale threw him out there. He said, "We want to see what you can do." And unfortunately, didn't have. I mean, it was actually a good match. If you rewatch it, it's actually on YouTube. I have it linked up down in the description below. When Mark Hall was able to get a couple of nice takedowns on Myers, one of them was even called back, unfortunately. But it was actually ended up being 3-3 heading into the third period. And flipping takedowns, and ultimately Myers was able to get the final takedown and the win over Mark Hall in Carver Hawkeye. So not the best official college debut. Now, just like Starocci, Mark Hall was a Southern Scuffle champion, ended up losing his debut match, but then won 7, because this is the thing that happened after that. Like I said, it's how you bounce back. He won 7 straight after that. He was angry, won 4 bonus in a row, until he lost to Bo Jordan at the Big Ten Championships. Ended up going to the NCAA Championships, where he had a nice run, beating Zahid Valencia in the semifinals. I know there's a lot to be said about that match, but in the finals, he ended up defeating Bo Jordan in the finals 5-2. So Mark Hall was able to, even after a loss, he actually came back and won a national title. It can happen, and it does happen, and there's a history of this happening with Penn State wrestlers. It was a great match. And then Alex Meyer actually ended up losing, of the Iowa Hawkeyes, ended up losing in the blood round, didn't end up All-American that year. So it's kind of crazy to see the contrast between the first match that Hall wrestled in January and then what happened after that. And of course, we do know that this was a huge year for Penn State, who ended up having 5 NCAA champions the same year, including Mark Hall, Vincenzo Joseph, who I'll get to in just a second, Zane Rutherford, Jason Nolf, and Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel and a couple of these Penn State guys you may know have been kind of getting into MMA recently, which is kind of cool. Are you a fan of MMA and jiu-jitsu? I know I've actually been watching, like I mentioned earlier, the channel supporter Alfie Murillo actually started a channel called Poo-Jitsu, and I do like to highlight my channel supporters because they help support in the Fanco Wrestling channel, but Alfie's actually a purple belt in jiu-jitsu who loves grappling, and on his channel he explores the facets of jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and grappling. He shares his journey through training vlogs, which are super cool to see. Just like that vlog I had the other week with the Campbell and App State match, Alfie does something very similar with all of his MMA training and jiu-jitsu. It's a very interesting channel. It's a cool channel, and somebody who definitely supports the Fanco Wrestling channel. So if you are interested in supporting Alfie, you can check his channel out at Poo-Jitsu. I'll have it linked up down in the description below. And that moves us on to the next thing, which is Vincenzo Joseph. Vincenzo Joseph made his debut in 2007. It actually was 2016, I guess, the 2016-2017 season against Stanford. This was actually a match where I was there for Vincenzo Joseph's debut. This was me and my brother actually at the Penn State match against Stanford, where actually a former teammate of mine from high school wrestled against Nick Soriano, who was actually also making his Penn State debut in the very same match at Rec Hall. And Vincenzo Joseph's match was insane. I vividly remember this match because I was excited to see how Vincenzo was going to do. But going up against an unranked Keaton subject of Stanford, he ends up losing. And the score is wild. It was 18-12 loss. And each of these guys were just going underhooks. They were tossing each other the entire match. I mean, first it was Vincenzo getting tossed, then it was Keaton getting tossed, and it was just like back and forth the whole entire match. It was absolutely wild. It was absolutely crazy. And I remember sitting next to me, or around me, was also Vincenzo's brother, who was like talking about this. But anyways, Vincenzo actually looked back on this match and said that my first match at Rec Hall where I just got crushed, it was my first memory. Like, dang, welcome to college wrestling. And that's kind of funny because that's the truth, is you're a young guy coming out of high school or even a redshirt season, some of these guys, and now you come into college, and there's a big difference between high school wrestling and college wrestling. And Vincenzo learned that right away. But he also, just like Mark Hall, bounced back, winning 10 in a row, suffered a few losses within the Big Ten schedule. So his was a little bit different than Mark Hall's schedule, but he did end up suffering quite a couple of losses until the Big Ten Championships, where he did end up avenging one of those losses to Jordan Isaac of Wisconsin, but then did end up beating Imar. He lost to Imar, didn't beat Imar just yet. He lost to Imar in the Big Ten Championships until we got to NCAAs, where he had quite the run. So he actually wrestled Subject in the first round, beat him 5-1, which is one of his closest matches, actually, of the tournament, which was a tight match. Wrestled Subject, beat him in the first round, ended up defeating Daniel Lewis of Mizzou, Logan Massa of Michigan, and then pinned. This is where he actually did beat Imar. He pinned Imar in the NCAA Finals to win it. So Vincenzo Joseph and Marcol are both 3-time NCAA finalists, multiple NCAA champs. Starocci could do it too, and that's kind of, I'm getting to my point here, okay? I'm getting to the point of this whole video and why you shouldn't be worried. And I hope I've kind of assuaged in any doubts that you've had, because another guy too in the lineup right now is Aaron Brooks, who suffered a loss to Taylor Venge early in the season, ended up avenging that, winning the Big Ten championships. We've yet to see how he does on the big stage, but it's kind of been a tradition for not making a big debut, unfortunate debut, for Penn State, and then winning or doing well at the national championships. Last year, Carter Starocci was 19-0, okay? He won 4 tournaments, including the Southern Scuffle. He's coming off of a training hiatus. It's his first match back. He lost. He got tossed. But it's a training hiatus. It's his first real college match in an actual atmosphere. I mean, I don't know how many fans were even allowed at the venue, but that happened. And Penn State just has a history of this. So I guess my point here is, give Kale and give Carter a chance to show what they're capable of. Because I truly believe that Carter Starocci can be somebody special. He can do something special on the big stage, but it may just take some time. We'll see how he fires back from here. Maybe he does end up doing nothing, and we'll see what that comes. I don't believe that that's going to happen, but I would like to hear what you think about Carter Starocci in his first college loss and how he's going to do for the rest of the season.